The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome into an all-new edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live baseball show on the Belly Up Sports Network. We're a day late, but not a dollar short. I'm Vince Stover, joined as I am every week by the senior fantasy writer at bellyupsports.com. The one and only, by the way, recently ejected in the first inning, Kevin Wilson. How you doing, Kev?
Oh, I'm doing great, Vince. We've been pretty hot down here in Texas, but aside from that, we had some great baseball going on this weekend, College World Series, and so I am pumped to be I'm always pumped to talk about baseball, so I'm ready to get into this.
Well, I've got a 7:45 first pitch tonight in my softball league, and usually I prefer the early games, but today, as we're hitting mid-90s here in Wisconsin, let's go ahead and push that as late as possible tonight. So as soon as we're done with this show, I'm headed out to play some softball or something that looks similar to playing softball.
Okay.
At least. Let's talk about College World Series real quick. It's not on our agenda, but man, I watched everything I could watch on that ejection. And I just, oh my goodness, how embarrassing for college baseball to have this happen and go down the way it went down. And I mean, you got to have some leniency in this situation, knowing the situation. I mean, my goodness, it just seems crazy. I feel horrible for the Coastal manager and how that all went down.
Yeah, because they had won. I forget what the number was before they played LSU. They had lost since like February or something like that, and it was an absolute masterpiece on Saturday, and to have this happen in a deciding game, too bad, as you mentioned. Come on, there's got to be flexibility all the way around. So, who wind up managing the team? The I don't know, the ball boy,
senior first baseman.
Yeah. So we can't have that. That was too bad to see.
Yeah.
Because it really was a great College World Series up until that point. And so, come on, guys,
get with it. All right. Very good. Well, we're here to talk some fantasy baseball, some Major League Baseball as well. We're talking trade strategies and fantasy. We're talking the Miz versus Skenes and all the playoff races. And then, of course, adds and drops for this week's fantasy baseball matchup. So let's get things started with our opening segment. We call it the Fantasy Burner. Fantasy Burner is presented by Belly Up Sports. You can go online to check out articles for fantasy baseball, fantasy football, Major League Baseball, NFL, college football, college basketball, the NBA, NHL, all kinds of things. It's on bellyupsports.com. And for all your visual content, check out the Belly Up Sports Network on YouTube for all kinds of great shows going on right now over there. All right, today we're talking trade strategies as we're getting to that point in the fantasy season where we're really making that final push for the playoffs and kind of trying to set everything up for that. You've got some guys that are checked out. You got some guys that are giving up on the season. If you're in a dynasty or keeper league, you might be looking at the future if you're at the bottom of the league versus looking at the now if you're at the top of the league and things of that nature as well. So me and Kevin wanted to talk some trade strategies. As I love making trades and I like making big trades in fantasy baseball. A lot of people don't, which makes it really hard for people who like to do it. But nonetheless, let's talk some strategy. So Kevin, you hit us with your first go-to strategy when it comes to trading for fantasy baseball.
Well, in the 10-team league that we are in, the main, Belly Up League, there's 10 teams there. So trading isn't really that big a thing. But the other league, we have 14 teams.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, it's a dynasty league. So first thing you need to do, as you mentioned, who's not checked out? Because you're wasting your time if you're sitting there trying to make a trade with somebody who's not even paying attention. But if they are, and you need to pay attention to where you are in the standings, are you in or possibly out. So that's got to color your strategy a little bit. If you are out, let's say, and you could go to a team that may be in there and you can get some young players back that can build your team for the future, that's the kind of thing you need to look at. But the bottom line to me is no matter what trade scenario you're looking at, whether you're looking to trade or you're looking at someone else's that's trying to trade with you, does it make your team better? That's got to be your bottom line.
I like it. I like a strategy that I call top, middle, bottom. All right. So if I'm at the top, I'm usually going to go to the bottom of the league first and try to poach some players off the bottom of the league. Find a guy that's doing really good and try to throw 2 or 3 people at them to see if they'll bite. If I'm at the bottom, I'm going to the top of the league and I'm trying to get maybe 2 guys for one. I'm willing to give up somebody that's good to try to get 2 or 3 guys that are going to actually boost my point value in my league. And if I'm in the middle, I'm kind of poaching right there on that playoff line. I'm looking for guys that are ahead of me by a game or 2 and see if I can maybe weaken them a little bit. Or I'm looking at teams that are a little bit below me, a game or 2 below me, to see if maybe they have kind of given up as far as their playoff push. And it gives me a chance to take maybe a swing at a bigger player in that case. If I'm at the top, which I'm fortunate to be in most of the leagues I'm in this year, which is very nice. I'm able to be pretty picky with that stuff, but I can take a guy that's not performing well, but has a big name, and I can usually trade them to get some pieces in return for that. And like I said, if I'm at the bottom, I'm taking those big names, even if they're performing well, offer them to the guys at the top and trying to get 2 to 3 pieces in return that are actually scoring better than maybe the top name that I'm offering them as well. So I like to kind of pick around top, bottom, and middle of the league, depending on where I am in the standings as well.
Yeah, you need to, because you mentioned about if you take on 2 players, you need to keep in mind, because if you take on 2 and give up 1, who are you going to drop?
Drop somebody. Yep.
You have to drop somebody. So be that in mind that you take on 2 players. Now, I don't want to drop anybody. That would be a problem. So
yep.
keep your sense of what your team is. And the biggest thing about trades, and this really, gets my goat, so to speak, that if you say you make a trade offer and then you don't hear anything at all. So don't be that guy. Okay. If you get a trade offer and you don't like it, you could just simply reject it or you can counter it, but don't let it sit there for 6 days and just don't do anything with it.
Yes.
So that's the thing that's I've come across, no matter what kind of fantasy we're in, when we're talking football or whatever else. So you make a trade offer and then it sits there and sits there and sits there. And you're like, well, are you alive on that end or not? So don't be that guy, and just don't be the one that's trying to fleece everybody, because then you'll be known for that and nobody will want to deal with you. Not to say that like I said, it's not your job to make another team better.
Yeah.
You're trying to make your team better, but don't go out there and offer, 2 guys that are hitting 210 and they're going to be put in the minors probably in a week for an all-star. So,
and to kind of go with that, Kevin, I think if you can communicate with your league members, if you have a way to communicate, not everybody does, but if you can, I'm in a few Facebook chat groups with some leagues that I'm in and stuff like that. I think it's worth asking, if I make you an offer, what are you looking for? Because there are some guys who are looking for recent scores, recent point values, things like that. There's other guys who are looking specifically for a position. There's guys in categories that are looking for a specific category. So you offer a guy that's heavy in home runs and they're looking for a guy that's heavy in stolen bases, so you're making offers that are never going to go anywhere. I'm a little different than you, Kevin, in the sense that my first offer will be a fleece offer. I'll say I'm going to make an offer that I clearly am winning.
So if I'm dealing with you, I know this
right
out of the gate. So I'm not going to go with that trade.
What I'm trying to do is start a conversation.
Right.
So I'm going to throw out the offer that if you say yes to, I'm going, wow, that's incredible that I won that. But What I'm trying to do is just get the ball rolling a little bit. Now, if someone offers me a deal where they're trying to fleece me, I will counter them with a fleece offer in return. Usually what I'll counter with is I'll ask for their top 5 players in exchange for my bottom 2 players. And just to let them know that I'm aware they're trying to fleece me. And then we can have a real conversation about, hey, do you really want this player? Okay, here's what it takes to get them. Are you willing to get there or not? I think you have to be willing to converse. I don't like these guys that get mad when you send an offer out there and then they're all mad about it. Like, chill. It's an offer. You can say no, and you can counter with whatever you want to counter with. But I've got one guy in a league. He sent me a message. He said, "Stop offering me trades." so I offered him another one. But calm down. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Take some Tylenol or something like that. And yeah. So
I don't know if we're allowed to say that. I apologize to Belly Up Sports if we're not allowed to say what I just said. So.
Okay. But just keep in mind, like I said, your bottom line is to make your team better, whatever form that may be. You need to decide that. If I'm out of the playoff push, then trying to make trades that's not going to do anything for you this year, it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So you might have to bite the bullet a little and trade off somebody to get, like I said, some guys back that will help build your team. So in the future, you can have a playoff worthy team. Yeah. So sometimes check your ego a little bit.
Sure.
And I know that's hard because, if you're involved in this, you probably have an ego to begin with. So you need to remember that, and just the bottom line, keep that on your focus.
All right, let me throw one more piece of advice out there, and I know you'll agree with me on this, Kevin. We've talked about it before. If you've got a young stud pitcher and you're in a redraft league, not a keeper league, not a dynasty league, it's about this time of year that you start looking at making that trade. We talked about with Paul Skenes last year. You're starting to look at pitch counts. You're starting to see, are they going to let the rookie pitcher pitch till the end? Are they going to start limiting his innings a little bit here? And if they are, then now's the time to move these guys. You can move a big name pitcher that's not going to be pitching in your fantasy playoffs. You can move them now for studs. And people think, oh man, I got, last year, we wouldn't do it this year. Last year we said move Paul Skenes. And the deal is, if someone says, wait, you're offering me Paul Skenes? Well, I'll give you, and they're gonna throw up good players to get Paul Skenes.
Yeah, they'll give you a first round, player in return.
Right. And you get to the playoffs and Paul Skenes doesn't pitch, or at least doesn't pitch as much. You win that, right? So this year, keep an eye out for these young rookie pitchers that have been pitching well, that have a little bit of mustard with them, that you can move them, and you might even get 2 like starter level players in return for him, because the people get geeked out about this young stud. And the reality is come playoff time, fantasy playoff time, they may not be pitching 6 innings. They may not be pitching 5 innings. They may be skipping a start. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen at that point in time. And so that's when you move on from those guys. You move on from them now, as long as you're locked in the playoffs. You want to hold on to them as long as you can, but you got to move on them before the report comes out that, hey, they're going to sit him here the last couple of weeks, or they're going to limit him to only 80 pitches a game or something like that. You got to move him before that news.
Right. In that same vein, you need to be, because let's say a guy get called up.
Yeah.
You need to take into account his minor league innings.
Yeah.
As well, because they all count.
Yeah.
And so let's say a guy has 70 minor league innings, and all of a sudden all he has is 60 in the big leagues. Well, that's 130.
Yeah, good point.
And in August, middle of August, well, we're shutting him down. And you're like, well, I'm trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Great point. All right, Kevin, give us a final knowledge bomb here of trade advice.
Well, the final knowledge bomb. Okay. So keep your focus on your team, and just, if you get, and know your needs. And you mentioned you could get in a conversation with somebody, but you can also go and check. Let's say that you need outfield help, but you have a lot of middle infielders. So you could go to some of your teams in your league and look who's got a stock of outfielders, but who needs some middle infield help, and then make an offer in that way. And they might be more willing to do something like that. So keep in mind not just your strengths, but your weaknesses, your opponent's strengths, their weaknesses, and see what you can get done. And so hopefully they'll want to talk to you the next day.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. You can have fun with trades, get out there.
That's all about fun here.
Yeah. I tell you, I got this one league that for the most part, it's really good. It's a 14, maybe 16 man league. It's a big one. It's a dynasty league, but the trade conversations are fun. Usually someone will put in the group chat, hey, this person's available, and then, make me an offer, and you start the conversation that way. Or they'll throw out there, hey, I'm looking for this. Does anyone have one available? Those kinds of things. And I go back and forth, and I never make one offer to one person. If I'm making an offer for a player, especially if someone asks me specifically about one of my players, hey, what would it take to get this player from you? I'm going to go make some offers to 4 or 5 teams in the league with that player to make sure I'm getting top value for that player, and not just, giving up on the first offer that I get. Now, if it's a great offer, it's a great offer, but I try to go out there and shop real quick to see, hey, is anyone going to bite on this guy? If he wants them, maybe somebody else wants them. Maybe I can get more for him from these other teams as well. So keep shopping, shop smart, and be willing to trade with anyone. Don't sign off anybody in your league. Be willing to make the right trade for you, no matter who it's with. And I keep saying, I told you the last bit of knowledge, but here we go. One more thing, right? Don't be worried about them getting better. Worry about you getting better.
That's right.
If you're willing to let go of the person, be willing to let go of the person, even if it's for the first place team or the team neck and neck with you for the last playoff spot, whatever it is. If you're getting better, don't worry about what they're doing. That's my thought, at least.
I agree with that 100%. And that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
Better.
I like it. There you go. All right. That's the Fantasy Burner presented by Belly Up Sports. Check them out, bellyupsports.com, and on YouTube, the Belly Up Sports Network. All right. Let's head into segment number 2. It's the Hot Corner. The Hot Corner is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com and use the promo code BELLYUP. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. So hope that you will check them out and find your new favorite flavor at righteousfelon.com. All right, let's start off with, I want to talk about pitchers first. I want to go to this. Jacob Mizorowski. I don't know if people outside of the Brewers fandom are enjoying this as much as we are. But the 2 games that he's pitched so far have been spectacular. There have been signs I see constantly. The comparison is Jacob deGrom. He's tall, he's lanky, he's making things happen. It is so fun as a Brewers fan. Not only have they won the last 4 games and beat Minnesota, which is always fun, they also have Mizorowski, who's been pitching great. And Wednesday, he's going up head-to-head against Paul Skenes. And the way that I understand it, they're going to put on boxing gloves and duel it out. They're going to bat against each other. Their batters 1 through 9. They're hitting. No, that's not happening. But still, it's a fun matchup between 2 young pitchers. Paul Skenes, proven great pitcher, going to win a ton of awards in his career. And then you've got Jacob Mizorowski, who's only pitched 2 games in the league so far. But boy, has it been fun. So, Kevin, give me the outsider's perspective on this. You're not a Brewers fan.
No.
Outsider's perspective on Mizorowski and Skenes matchup on Wednesday.
Well, as far as Mizorowski is concerned, it's been really, really, really fun seeing him succeed, whereas Aaron Savali has lost both of his starts for the Chicago White Sox. And I know we talked about this last week, and it's been proven that the Brewers made the right choice here. Yeah. And so, oh well for you. See you, maybe sometime in the future. So that's been nice to see. And he's not just pitching well, he's pitching dominantly.
Yeah.
because he's out there and he's throwing zeros,
Right.
not just in runs but hits too. So, dude, so this is going to be really interesting because, as you mentioned, Milwaukee's playing well now, and the Pirates are not. And so it happens every single game where Paul Skenes pitches. He'll come out of the game with 1, maybe 2 runs against him, and be leading 3-2. And the next thing you look at, the Pirates are losing 5-3.
Yeah.
So, how long these guys stay in the game will be interesting to see. And this is a matchup that if you're MLB, and I haven't seen this, maybe they already did this, but if you're MLB on the MLB network, this game needs to be the featured game of the day. I don't know if it is or not, but I would do everything possible to put this game so the nation can watch 2 guys go head to head live.
It is the MLB game of the day.
Okay, so somebody does have some sense about them. Okay, that's good to know.
Unless you're in Pittsburgh or the Milwaukee area, you're going to get to enjoy this game.
Okay.
And the rest of us, we blacked out and have to listen to it on the radio because MLB is stupid. So there's
okay. So I praise them in 1 minute and dash them the next. So
it's ridiculous.
It doesn't that makes zero sense that you wouldn't want your own fan bases to be able to watch this game. That perplexes me to no end.
Locally, it's at 1:10 in the afternoon. Like, people can't take off work to go watch a baseball game on a regular basis.
That's always been something I've wondered about, why baseball does this in the middle of the week. And who's supposed to watch these games? I don't know.
My thing is you can't black it out in an afternoon game. Like, it's one thing on a Friday night, but on a Wednesday afternoon, like, why are you blacking this game out? Well, let's let everybody watch it. And I'm sure it'll be a great crowd because it is summertime. So I'm sure you'll have plenty of people that are going to be there. Skenes is pitching, Mizorowski's pitching. It's going to be an elite atmosphere in Milwaukee on Wednesday. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. But MLB does have it as game of the day, free game of the day, but it doesn't matter for the locals because they can't watch it.
Okay, so if it starts at 1 o'clock, I won't be able to watch it till about 3:30.
Yeah.
Because I get off at 3.
I will have the radio on in my office listening.
Well, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do.
That's right. All of a sudden, not feeling well. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Did you see the Cincinnati Reds DFA'd Heimer Candelario? And he's got a massive contract that he signed with Cincinnati. Did not work out. By the way, it's not working out for Cincinnati really in any way, shape, or form. They are 2 games over 500, 6.5 back in the division. I just not been impressed with what they've been doing as of late. You look at that NL Central, the Cubs are still 3.5 up on Milwaukee, 4.5 up on St. Louis. The problem with Milwaukee is this, Kevin, they scored 1 million runs this weekend, but they'll go through a stretch where they'll score 1 over 4 games. So they got to keep the offense going because the pitching has been really, really good as of late. And more than just the Miz, it's been all over the place. Every pitcher that comes in seems to be pitching really, really well for Milwaukee. So overall, I'm really happy right now. The top 4 teams in the Central are plus 34 or more in run differential right now. Take out Pittsburgh, who's minus 61.
Yeah, we're not paying attention to them anyway. So
yeah, Philly's a game up on the Mets after winning 8 of their last 10, while the Mets won 2 of their last 10. So they made a run, and that division's looking fun. The Dodgers have a little bit of space over the Giants, 3.5 games now on them after a really good week as well. Yankees, boy, they only won 3 of their last 10, and the Rays are just kind of sniffing around right there at 2.5 back, which is intriguing, I think, as well to watch what's going on over there. Yankees, let's talk about the Yankees. It hasn't looked pretty here recently.
No, it sure had. Well, baseball in general in New York has looked pretty lean over the last week.
Yeah.
And I was on the No Credentials Required show. We talked about this because they're both New York boys over there.
Yeah.
And every team goes through these struggles. But the fact that the Yankees, with the offense that they have, went 30 innings without scoring a run. that's hard to even contemplate whatsoever, especially because it was the Angels that did this to him, and nobody's breaking the doors down of the Angels to get one of their pitchers.
Right.
And that's really mind-boggling to me that we could go back to because they got swept by Boston, and that started this whole thing. And then they play. You would think that the Angels would be the tonic to get things rolling again.
Right.
It just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And Aaron Judge hit a home run. I saw it live, but they still lost. So, and it's interesting. This whole race is going to be interesting because Tampa, we know you write off Tampa at your own peril because they always figure out a way. But their issue to me is they've played by far the most home games.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to compensate for that in the second half. Can they? And they haven't taken advantage of these home games either.
True.
If they had of, they'd be in first place.
Yeah.
And I don't don't write off Tampa. So I'm not going to do that, but they're going to have to navigate the roadway to be able to stay where they are, and it's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, Tampa's played 50 home games.
That's right. That's by far the most.
The Dodgers are at 44, and they're definitely the closest to them. No one else is really in. I don't know that anybody else is even in the 40, or they're close to 40. I guess everybody else
close to 40.
Yeah,
but the Dodgers just got finished playing a 10-game homestand.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why that is, and they're going to go right back on the road. So that's going to even out. So Tampa, what are you going to do when you have to play most of your games in, New York or in Baltimore or in Boston or in Toronto or wherever else? That's going to be the main issue for them.
The Dodgers are now 1 game back from Detroit for best record in Major League Baseball, by the way. And the Phillies are 2 games back from that. So there's some teams catching to Detroit, but nobody in the AL Central is catching Detroit.
No. We color this division over.
Yes, I think so too. And Houston playing some good baseball as well. They're 5 games up on Seattle right now. And they seem to be the cream of the crop out there in the AL West.
Yeah.
With the way they've been playing.
Raise your hand if this surprises you at all.
Yep.
I'm looking. I see no hands raised back there. So no. And Seattle's another team that didn't take advantage of a home, schedule early. And now they're paying the price.
By the way, Devin Williams pitching well, going back to the Yankees, pitching well, getting save opportunities, seems to have found his groove over there in New York right now. So congrats to Devin Williams, the airbender, finding his way after a pretty rough start for old Devin Williams.
I'll say it was. And because Weaver went on the IL.
Yeah.
And he's back, and he came in and allowed a run in his first appearance.
Yeah.
So that's not looking too positive because he was looking great before this happened. And so the Yankees are still going to have to figure who's the closer here and who is the setup guy. They have to figure this out.
Yep. I agree. All right. Anything else you want to discuss going on in Major League Baseball?
We need to bring up Mr. Cal Raleigh real quick.
Sure.
Okay, because he has he's got 31 home runs. And he's already set the record for most home runs by a catcher, which isn't a surprise because his is the second most home runs ever hit before the All-Star game. And it's still, 2 weeks away or 3 weeks away almost.
Yeah.
So what he's doing is absolutely unbelievable. And let's see. Unfortunately, Boston, Christian Campbell, is not working. He's in AAA.
Well, hold on a sec, though. One of the reasons why he's in AAA, not the only, but one of the reasons was they're teaching him first base. So he's getting reps at first base down there in AAA. So although it definitely hasn't been perfect or anything like that,
no,
I will say I think they sent him down for a purpose. He'll be back before too long.
Okay, but if he was hitting,
true,
they would not have done that.
Well, Rafael Devers was hitting and they traded him. So
well, that's true. And
So we don't know what Boston's going to do.
Let's revisit that for a second, because
Sure.
we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
And the other, because Boston did not look at their schedule.
Yeah.
Because who did Boston play this past weekend? That would be the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
Who hit a home run against them on Saturday? That would be Rafael Devers.
Well,
So
let's talk about the position thing too, because we talked about it when he got traded. We came on the air just an hour after the news broke about the trade. So we said, well, what will he play? I said he'll probably stick with DH. Maybe he'll play third base and they'll move Chapman around. He immediately starts taking grounders at first, starts working at first base.
I saw that,
which is great.
It is.
And I love the response. The deal is it wasn't that he was ever against playing first base. It was that he just completely no longer trusted the Red Sox, and he wasn't going to give them what they wanted at the end of the day. So, we're going to see. Wouldn't it be awesome if Devers plays enough first base to warrant first base eligibility? And then we get into next year and we got first base, third base, DH eligibility for Devers.
That would be awesome, because he hasn't played any games at third base.
True.
So we'd have to do both of those things.
You're right.
And but it's another indictment to me about Boston and how they went about this trade, that They made it when they did, when everybody was giddy because they swept the Yankees, and they're right back in the wild card run. And so what do? They trade Devers, and then the next weekend they face Devers.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they have waited till today, the Monday after that San Francisco series, to trade him over there? So Boston has played well despite all this, is the thing that really amazes me.
Yeah.
But still, I don't see this as being a positive move whatsoever for them going forward, either this year or any time in the future.
I agree. Real quick, some league leaders. Aaron Judge leads the league in batting average, 369, excuse me. He also leads the league in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS and hits as well. Cal Raleigh leads the league in home runs with 31. Eugenio Suarez still leads the league in RBIs with 67. Caballero in Tampa has 29 stolen bases. Ohtani's crossed home plate 76 times to lead the league in runs. Let's see here. Stolen bases, we already said. Walks. Juan Soto leads the league in walks with 60.
Raise your hand if that surprises anybody. No, don't see any hands on that one either.
On the pitching side, Paul Skenes leads the league, 1.85 ERA. Let's see here with 9 wins. Max Fried and Carlos Rodon tie for that one right now. Crochet with the most strikeouts, 125. Estevez from the Royals, 22 saves, leads the leagues there. Skubal leads the league in whip with 0.85. Valdez and Houston leads the league with complete games with 2 of those. Crochet has the innings number at 102.1. And let's see here. I was going to look for one more stat. Don't see it, so we won't go there.
Okay, I'll give you one stat. How about this? Because Aaron Judge has played 77 games entering today. You know how many games that Cal Raleigh has played as a catcher and DH? He's played 75. There's no catcher that comes anywhere close to that.
Agreed.
So you've got him in your lineup. You don't have to have another catcher anywhere close to your team.
Agreed.
So that's really valuable.
Yeah. I like it. All right, that's the Hot Corner, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Check them out, righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code BELLYUP for 15% off your purchase. All right, let's get into some waiver wire moves on the Fantasy Focus. Fantasy Focus is presented by SeatGeek. Hey, you're going to go to that game Wednesday afternoon? Go to SeatGeek.com to find your ticket. Use the promo code BellyUpSports. You're going to get $20 off your purchase. Again, that's SeatGeek.com with the promo code BellyUpSports. All right, Kevin, let's start with drops today.
Okay.
I've only got one that as a guy I held on to from draft day until this week. And I finally cut ties with Spencer Steer across the board, Cincinnati
I saw
Reds.
that, and I picked him up.
I did trade him in at least one league, if not 2. I had him in pretty much every league I was in. So I had to make some moves to move on from Spencer Steer, where I couldn't trade him. I dropped him, and I could not any longer make the excuse to have him on my team. He was the worst point getter on my team, and there were just too many guys on the waiver wire that were doing better. So I moved on from Spencer Steer.
I added him because I looked and it seemed like he was doing better. And
he has his moments.
He has had his moments, so it may not be a long pickup, but I do have him. And let's see, for our drops now, Christian Campbell, we just mentioned him.
Yeah.
If you're in a redraft league, there's no reason why this dude's on your roster. Zero. Yeah. But in our league, that's a dynasty league, someone dropped him this very day, or was it yesterday? I forget what. So, but if you're in a dynasty league, do you drop this guy knowing the kind of potential he has going forward? I don't think I would have done that.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
Okay, so he's out there in our league, so we have to make a decision whether or not we're going to make a move on that, and that might go back to whether or not, because I'm of course I'm unbeaten over there in that league, so making that move is probably not my best interest. But you have to really think about whether or not because this guy's got value in a dynasty league, a lot of value, I think. So.
Well, especially if he comes back and picks up first base eligibility.
Absolutely. So if you're in redraft, drop him. We talked about catchers a moment ago. Tyler Stevenson of the Cincinnati Reds. And he was hurt and everything else, but he's 2 for his last 22. And this is not working. If you've got a catcher that you can depend upon, this guy is not it. So just cut him loose. And one other guy, just real quick, is Andre Jimenez of Toronto. Toronto's playing much better than we thought, but it's not because of this dude. He's only hit 192. He went 2 for 5 on June 10th. Well, he's 2 for 27 since then.
I love it.
But no RBIs and 2 runs scored. He needs to go. There's got to be somebody that can give you some better production at second than him.
Well, and you mentioned Francisco Alvarez last week or the week before.
Oh, yes. That's right. He's in the
minors. Yeah.
That's
so
right.
He should not be on your roster right now. And honestly, even in dynasty leagues,
dynasty or otherwise, he's got to go.
Francisco Alvarez.
That's right.
Right now at catcher.
So, you can thank me if you listen to me and did drop him at that point.
Right.
So
that's right.
No need to applause. Just throw money.
All right. Let's get into ads this week. I've got 5 guys I'm really excited about this week in our ads section, but let's let you start off first. Let's see if we're on the same page with any of these guys.
Okay, so the first guy I want to go to, and I hope I get his name right, it's Ryan Nelson.
Yes, from Arizona.
Arizona, okay, at 3.9% rostered, 4-2, 3.88, 1.08. Tuesday, which is tomorrow now already. It's hard to believe. He pitches at Chicago White Sox. There's not a better landing spot than having a guy go up against the Chicago White Sox. So, and he's pitched pretty well. His last couple starts, he's had wins. He's had 20 fantasy points. He has 19 fantasy points. So this guy is pitching well enough that this 3.9% roster makes no sense whatever to me. So he's available. I like him for that start for tomorrow. Get him on your team.
I like it. I'm going to go with the guy that I've talked about a couple times this season. I talked about it when he got called up. It didn't go great to start off with. We said, hey, make sure you keep an eye on this guy. And this is why we told you to do so. The A's first baseman, Nick Kurtz, is the guy I'm talking about. He's currently 19.5% rostered, which is up over 10% right now. Recently, the last 2 games haven't turned out perfect, but before that, against Cleveland, he had a 6-pointer. Houston, he had a 7-pointer, an 11-pointer. He had 3 straight games with a home run. He had 5 out of 6 games with a home run as well. He's finding his groove, and all those on the road, by the way, at Houston, all those at home. So when he's home is when you want to find him. It's kind of like the Rockies hitting in that minor league park right now for the A's. Home games, keep an eye on Nicholas Kurtz along the way, because I love what he's doing right now on the season, limited season so far. 246 average, 10 home runs, 25 RBIs, 73 total fantasy points. And I just think he's a guy that you want to keep around. And at first base, there's some first basemen around right now doing well, but keep an eye out for Nicholas Kurtz.
Okay, so I was told by more than one person that he should have been the fantasy MVP last week.
Okay.
I stick with my choice, but I can see where they're coming from. So if he's available, get him.
Yeah.
And this guy, there's certain guys that you just cannot believe that you're going to bring up, but I am anyways. And we had completely dismantled this guy that I'm going to get ready to talk about right now. And that's Charlie Morton. We talked about how he was 70 years old and he was simply awful.
Yeah.
And so because he was simply awful, he's at 6.5% rostered. But this is what the point totals he's put together recently: 17, 22, 29. You can blow off the 4-1, 26, and 27. So he's pitching extremely well. And tomorrow also, he has at home the Texas Rangers. Now, we know when we last went live that the Rangers put 16 runs, but they've gone right back to scoring 3 or 4 runs per game. And Marcus Semien, he's been better. I'll say that.
Yep.
But the big indictment, because I was listening to the game, the Pirates and the Rangers were playing. Rangers had runners on first and second, nobody out. And here comes Seager. He pops it up, foul, catch. Semien comes up, he hits a pop-up to just beyond second base. The Rangers don't score, and this is their whole – and they went on to lose that game.
Yeah.
So Charlie Morton is a guy that I would trust not very much whatsoever, but in a game against the Rangers, it's a spot start if there ever was one.
Fair enough. I'm hard pressed to pick up Charlie Morton. I'm not going to lie, but he has been pitching incredibly well as of late, for sure. All right, I'm going to go the opposite direction of Charlie Morton. We're going to go really young. How about Detroit Tigers outfielder Wenceel Perez? 3.9% owned. He is in his limited action in the majors. He is hitting .296 with 6 home runs and 1 stolen base on the season so far. Yesterday he had a 10-pointer against Tampa, going 2 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Against Pittsburgh on the 17th, he had 11 points. Those home run games are really good for Perez, of course, as always with anybody. I just like the way he's playing right now. Detroit's playing good baseball. Perez is young. He's got power. And if you got a young guy with power, you can count me in. So Wenceel Perez at 3.9% rostered in ESPN leagues. I think he's a really solid pickup right now.
Yep, I would agree with that. So the guy I'm going to go with is the one who just got swept out by your Milwaukee Brewers, but that's not the fault of Brooks Lee.
Yeah.
He's at 5.1% rostered, but he entered Friday's play with a 19-game hitting streak. And they shut him down the first couple games, but yesterday he went 4 for 5 with the RBI and a run. So he's right back on the wheel. He's got second, he's got third, he's got shortstop eligibility, and at 5.1% rostered, this guy could certainly help out your infield anywhere but first base. So if you need any help in any of those positions, I would certainly look at Mr. Lee to get on your fantasy team.
Very good. Let me go to the pitching side of things. He's a guy that I've been toting for a while, but San Francisco Giants pitcher Hayden Birdsong, people haven't caught on just quite yet. 8.5% rostered in ESPN leagues. He's 3-1 on the year. So started the year in the bullpen, now is starting. 3.25 ERA, 55 strikeouts, 147 fantasy points. He's been a little up and down about every other game as it's been going right now. He had a 5-pointer against Boston back on the 20th, Well, on Thursday, he is home against the Miami Marlins. The last time he faced Miami, granted it was in Miami, he had 20 points. He had 1 earned run on 5.1 innings and 5 strikeouts, no walks. So that's where I'm looking at him for this week. I love Hayden Birdsong. I don't think he's a streamer. I've got him on my roster and happy to have him there. Actually, I've got him in a couple leagues on my roster, and a lot of young talent there in Hayden Birdsong. So I like him to hang on to for right now in San Francisco. 3-1 on the year is pretty solid too. So give me Hayden Birdsong any day of the week, but especially on Thursday this week against Miami.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier about dropping Mr. Tyler Stevenson. So you can do that. You know why you can do that? Because, and this is the guy I've talked about before, is Drake Baldwin of the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
People have still not got on board with this guy. He's at 8.1% roster. Well, he's hitting 293. And so enters today with a 4-game hitting streak. He's put together the 5, 10, and 4 fantasy points this past week. Homer, 6 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. He has a stranglehold on that position as the starter now. And the older guy, you stay in the dugout. I've got this. And so if you need catching help, look to this guy and get him on your team. And you got to we keep figuring Atlanta's going to go on a run somewhere offensively, somehow, some way. But Drake Baldwin's already hitting the ball, so get him.
Yeah, Ronald Acuna, by the way, been amazing since he's returned from injury as well. All right, let me go into an outfielder again, and we'll go to Milwaukee for this one. Isaac Collins, 1.8% rostered in ESPN leagues. He's been on a tear as of late. Great series against Chicago, going 8 points and 9 points in 2 games. Against Minnesota, 2 points, 8 points, and 3 points. He's got 2 home runs in that stretch. On the season, he's batting .254, 4 home runs, 19 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, and now he's playing consistently. He's playing left field for Milwaukee. Christian Yelich, of course, is DHing most of the time, occasionally jumping into the field, but very rarely. So Isaac Collins has kind of just solidified that spot in left field. He has played in the last 6 games straight. So I like Isaac Collins a lot. He's been getting some clutch hits through these last couple series as well for Milwaukee. And what he's doing right now is amazing. And he is available in pretty much every single league. So if you need some outfield help, go ahead and take the hot bat of Isaac Collins.
Okay. So this is the last guy that I have. And it's a guy that we've talked about previously. And it's Ben Casparius.
Yeah.
I know you've talked about him before.
Yeah.
I've talked about him before, but he's still at 7.6% roster. And looks like he's the guy that's going to be following behind Ohtani. He's not going to be a starter, but he's a starting pitcher / relief pitcher. In our league, the Dynasty League, there are starting pitcher / relief pitcher spots that you can slide this guy in. And he gives you, let's see, 7 of his last 10 appearances, he's pitched more than 2 innings. So he'll give you innings. He's given the last 3 times, he's getting 8, 12, and 13 fantasy points. So this is a guy who you just slide right in there and don't have to worry about your relief pitcher spot, because this guy is he's not really a starter, but in his he went 5 innings. And he's won his last 2 decisions. Yeah. And he pitches for the Dodgers. What kind of recipe more would you like than that right there? So we've talked about him, and it's time people listen and get him on their fantasy team.
All right. My final guy is somewhat familiar name, Max Kepler. We're playing for the Philadelphia Phillies this season. He is batting .211 on the year. You say, what? Now, 9 home runs, 27 RBIs, 32 runs, 3.5% rostered, only outfield eligible. He's hitless in the last 2 games, but still with a positive fantasy performance on the 21st with an RBI sacrifice fly. He's had, of course, everyone has a good series against Miami, good series against Toronto, good series against the Cubs previously to this Mets series currently in Philadelphia. So again, giving you some outfield help this week with Perez, Collins, and now Max Kepler. You got options out there in the outfield. So take a look at some schedules. The reason I like Kepler is he's on a really good team that's playing really good baseball and a really good lineup. So take your shots there. I think it's a positive to look towards Max Kepler this week as well with the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. Yeah, sure. Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah.
That's
You
okay.
know what I mean.
We're one day ahead of ourselves, but okay.
Yeah. That brings us to a perfect transition, because on Thursday night, the Sports Stove Football Show is covering the Eagles. We're covering the NFC East.
Okay, there you have it.
Breaking that down. Got some fun stuff for our division breakdowns on Thursday nights with the Sports Stove Football Show. We just finished our college previews, going through the Big Four conferences. So go back and check those out as well. You can find the Sports Stove Football Show on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts, the Sports Stove Football Show on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere in between. Of course, Tuesday nights, me and Kevin, along with our friend Brian, will jump on the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show. That airs at 9 o'clock Eastern time on the Belly Up Sports fantasy pages, and then later on the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. And looking forward to kind of put a bow on dynasty stuff for football season before turning the page to redraft stuff there. And again, that's on the Belly Up Sports Network, the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Show, with yours truly and Kevin Wilson and Brian Germanaro as well on there. Kevin, what do you got going on this week, man?
Well, we've got lots going on. And one of the things that you posted was, because last week we talked about who are we on the bus as far as players are concerned. And that's out there and all over the place. So if my bus pulls up, are you going to get on board? If your bus pulls up, are you going to get on board? If Brian's bus pulls up, whose bus are you looking with? All three of us are sitting there back to back to back. Whose bus are you getting on? Take a look at that. And also, always on Twitter at Kevin62WILSEA. And as I mentioned, I was on the No Credential Required show on Saturdays, and we got in depth with the New York Yankees and their issues, and we talked about a lot of other things. So check that out; it's on the Belly Up YouTube page, and I have 2 articles currently out there. So I took a look at some of because you, like you said, you did the college preview. Well, I took a preview of what I think are the 10 biggest games of the college football season. And the biggest one is right out of the gate. So take a look at that. And just today, because I was doing research for this show, and I was kind of blown away by the kind of star power that's on injured lists.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are like, well, when are these guys going to play? So I did some research and put an article out today of fantasy player injury updates. So that's out there. And just get onto the Belly Up Sports site.
Yeah.
And look up Kevin Wilson. You will find articles aplenty, no question.
For sure. And we also posted the top 30 PPR rankings for redraft leagues for fantasy football this week on the Belly Up Sports website. Also, go to bellyupsports.com, click on football, and then hit the drop-down menu there. You'll hit fantasy football to find all those articles there, of course, as well.
And also to mention, because I got my fantasy, I mentioned earlier, my fantasy MVP series. Yep. And go check that out, because the pitchers section was especially hard, because I like, look, hey, this guy had 52 fantasy points. He's got to be the MVP. And I'd look, well, this guy's got 52 fantasy points, and this guy's got 52, and this guy's got 52. Well, the winner had 58, which is the highest point total of the week that I've had this season. So that was an extremely close battle. And then I said, I came to the conclusion of who my batting champion would be. And there were some exceptions taken to that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in anyone's opinion. So get on there, and if you think I should have it, let me have it. That's fine with me.
I like it. Next week on the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show, we're going to be looking at how to make your stretch run to the playoffs. You got to make that final push. We're going to help you get there. We got 8 weeks after this matchup before playoffs begin in fantasy baseball. And I bring this up because Kevin is fighting fighting for that final playoff spot in our league. We have a very limited playoff opportunities in our league, and Kevin currently is sitting in 5th in a 4-team playoff. So we're going to talk about how Kevin plans to get across the finish line into the playoffs, and I'll throw some advice out there too. Real quick update on the Belly Up Sports, Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show league. My dad and I tied at first, 11-2 on the season. Chase Thornton, he was a former champion in our league, and Nate Nguyen, last year's most improved fantasy player, are tied for second, which ends up being third and fourth at 10-3. Then Kevin's right there at 8-5. Everybody else is kind of dropping off at this point. Mike Brown, the co-founder of Belly Up Sports, at 5-8. Brett Radlinsky, he focused too much on hockey, I guess, 4-9. Elizabeth Lovato's at 3-10. Caleb MC at 2-11, and Ryan Mickey C. McCarthy at 1-12 on the year. I always appreciate a good bye week that I had last week against Ryan McCarthy, so that was good. Next week we'll be looking at that final playoff push. Now you got 8 weeks to get there. How are we going to do it?
Let me just mention, because people might be saying, well, this dude's not even in the playoffs, so why should I listen to him? Well, because in the other league that I'm in, I'm perfect.
Well,
I'm unbeaten.
Yes, you are perfect in that league, 13-0.
That's right. So maybe I do have something that you might want to listen to.
Right. Well, and not just that, you have a history. I mean,
that's right.
Kevin's been the top performer in our league every year we've had it. So yes. And that's why I appreciate you giving content to the show, playing it a little safe this year so that we can have this final 8 weeks push and explain to people how they can get there to the playoffs from that spot as well. So looking forward to that for sure next week. He's Kevin Wilson. You can find him at Kevin62 WILSEA on Twitter. And I'm Vince Stover. You can find me at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram as well. And you can find us here, hopefully next Sunday night. We'll see. And we'll be here next week, one way or the other. We'll get you more content coming on. Thanks for watching the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. Enjoy Wednesday's matchup from the Miz and Paul Skenes, and we'll talk about it next week. Have a great week, everybody.